Hey guys, welcome to my channel. My name is Irina. Last year, I already made 2 videos about DoorDash and Uber Eats. You can watch those. They are on my channel. And I also explained in those videos how I do my own taxes. This video is just a short edition. First of all, I wanted to say that I added Spark. So far, out of all those 3 apps that I have right now, DoorDash, Uber Eats, and Spark, Spark is my least favorite. There are a couple of things that I do not like about Spark. In my opinion, they have the worst customer service because there was a day, one time, I've been doing only for 3.5 months. I don't know how often it happens actually, but out of those 3.5 months, there were a few days when they had technical issues. And on one of those days, I was doing shopping orders and I finished shopping orders and I delivered, but because the app was crashing all day, I couldn't confirm that I delivered. So I called customer service. They promised me that I will be paid regardless. Next day I didn't see any money, so I called again and they told me that in this system, actually both of those orders marked as canceled. And I couldn't prove that, even though they can see that I finished shopping order, I paid for that, and they could have called customers that to confirm that I delivered. I couldn't actually, I called a few times, but no one could solve my issue, so I was never paid for those 2 orders. And another thing I do not really like about Spark, that they allow customers to change the amount of tip. So on the day of the delivery, you see your trip money, and the next day you see your tip money. And not many times, but sometimes it's less than promised. I know that Uber does the same, but at least with Uber, a lot of times I see more because we see the trip money first, and then 1 hour later, we see our tip money. A lot of times it's more than promised. Sometimes next day I can see more. Yes, next day the tip also can be reduced, but at least tip can be reduced a few sometimes, but sometimes I actually see more than I was promised. And with Spark, unfortunately, never happened. So that's why it's my least favorite. Also, I wanted to say a few words about miles. We need our miles for tax purposes. And I know I did talk about it last year in those videos, but I will just remind you that in Uber Eats, it's very easy. You go into your app on the phone, you click on those 3 lines at the top, you go into your account and then tax info, and then you open annual tax summary, and over there you can see all your online miles. So that's easy. With DoorDash, last year they sent us email with miles at the end of February. This year it's the beginning of February. I haven't gotten any emails yet, so I don't know when they're gonna send us. And with Spark, unfortunately, they did not give us any miles at all. I didn't know that when I started Spark, but then when I was ready to do my taxes this year, I checked the app, I checked the website, I couldn't find anything, so I contacted customer service and they told me that they do not track our miles, so we have to actually write down. Not a problem for me. Why? Because I started writing my miles at the beginning of last year, long before I had Spark. Because last year, when I found out that DoorDash gives us miles only at the end of February, I didn't like it because I like to do my taxes early in February so I can get my tax refund sooner. So that's why I started writing my miles. So this year I was able to actually do my taxes at the beginning of February. A few days ago I did my taxes because I already knew all my miles. So that's about miles. And also I wanted to just say a few things about taxes. Because I didn't really cover them last year because it wasn't the same last year. So this year I have a few changes and I wanted to mention them. So I know that I did show similar whiteboard last year in those videos. This is how annual tax summary for Uber looks like. So with DoorDash and Spark, it's easy. You just get 1099 form, and there would be one amount, which is your income, and that's what you put in income in those tax programs if you do it yourself. If you take it to your tax preparer, that's what you take to your tax preparer, form 1099. With Uber, it's a little bit more complicated. I'll just go over again just in case. So when you open that annual tax summary, you'll see your miles, but you will also see those three numbers: gross amount minus taxes and fees, and net amount. This is not our gross amount. This is Uber's gross amount. And the second number, even though it says taxes and fees, it's not really taxes that we pay to IRS. Those are more like fees that Uber charged us. And this is the amount that they paid us, even though it's called, they call it net. For them, for Uber, it's net, but for us, this is our gross amount on which we're gonna pay taxes to IRS. So this is the amount that DoorDash and Spark gives us, but again, Uber does it this way. Why I wanted to go over that again. So annual tax summary was the only form that I got last year. And if you do your taxes yourself, you still can use annual tax summary because that's all you need. But this year, I also got Form 1099K and 1099 NEC. So that's why I wanted to mention that if you got those forms, and if you not doing your own taxes, if you're gonna take only 1099 forms to your tax preparer, it's not gonna be enough, because if you open those forms, you will see only one amount, this one larger. 1099 form doesn't have fees and doesn't have this amount. So that's all I wanted to say. If you did get 1099, make sure when you take it to your tax preparer, bring also annual tax summary, because so your tax preparer can see the whole picture. And another point I wanted to talk about expenses. Last year I did explain standard miles deduction and itemized deduction, but I had a few questions from different people and I wanted to just go over that again, how to see which one is better for you. Standard miles deduction for 2024 is 67 cents per mile. So since I already know my miles, I can give you example with my miles. I drove 19,000 miles in 2024. So I multiply that by 67 cents and I roughly get $13,000. That's my standard miles deduction. And then if I want to compare to itemized deduction, basically what I do, I write down all expenses, my car expenses, not just car expenses. We will talk about other expenses a little bit later. So just car expenses, oil change, car maintenance, gas, tires, car insurance, registration, whatever you paid in 2024 for your car, you can list them separately and see what's the sum. If I do add all my expenses separately, I probably will get about $5,000 or $6,000. So for me, standard miles deduction is better because it's $13,000. So that's how you choose which one you want to do. And that's all I did last year, only miles deductions. But then over the year, I did speak to other delivery people and I realized that people also put some other expenses. So this year I also added, because when you're done with vehicle expenses, you can see other expenses like office expenses, meals expenses, medical expenses. So I also put my phone, not not how much my phone costs, but the service fee, which I pay monthly, right? And I also put an amount for meals expenses. That one I cannot guarantee that your tax preparer will do for you, because at least that's what I've heard, that some tax preparers say that we are not qualified to claim meals expenses. But I also heard other opinions that we actually can. So I put, you can put a reasonable amount. Personally, I don't really have any receipts to prove. I kind of calculated approximately. So I estimated how much I usually spend within a week, like for drinks or snacks when I drive long hours, and then I just come up with amount per year. So just make sure it's a reasonable amount. And if you do taxes yourself, you can put that amount for meals expenses, and 50% will be deducted from your income. So phone, I put 360 because that's how much I pay per year, and it was deducted 100%. So the entire 360. For meals, only 50% was deducted, and that's it for me. But because my son and I, we get free government medical insurance. But if you pay for your medical insurance, you'll see medical expenses, and you can put your medical insurance. Although I do not know if it's 100% deductible or not, but you can actually see all these numbers after you, if you do your taxes yourself, after you entered all incomes, all expenses. All these numbers that we entered in a tax program, I use Free Tax USA. They will end up in two documents, Schedule C and Schedule S. Schedule C is our income and expenses. Over there you can see how much was deducted, and Schedule S is our taxes. Over there you can see how much taxes you paid. I think that's it. Those are only points that I wanted to add. I'll see you next time. Bye.